Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I see that a bunch of people are still jumping in here, so we're here to talk about ServiceNow. So if you're here to hear about ServiceNow, you're in the right place, and we'll get started here in about 2 to 3 minutes as we let everybody join in. So just hang tight, and we will get started in just a couple minutes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those that just joined. We will get started here in just a couple minutes. We're just going to allow everybody to continue to jump into the webinar here. So we'll get started shortly. Just hang tight. Hello, everybody that just joined. We will get started here in about a minute, just allowing everybody to finish jumping into the webinar. So just stand by. We'll be getting started here in about a minute. All right, Bryce, it looks like we got a slower group coming in here now. So I think we can probably go ahead and get started.
Oh, can jump in, and session's being recorded and be shared with everyone that's registered here today. But those that are here, thank you for joining us as we address the top security concerns that we're hearing from our customers in healthcare and life sciences. I am Bryce Halley, the platform data protection specialist here at ServiceNow, with over a decade of experience in SaaS platform data security, and I'm focused on our customers in the regulated markets in America. Joined here by Will, who'll be my co-presenter.
Thanks, Bryce. Hey, everybody. Welcome today. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're. Will Brannon with the Office of the CISO here at ServiceNow. Office of the CISO is a team that's focused on kind of all things trust and assurance for our customers. So look forward to going through this amazing session today with my colleague Bryce and Bhakti, and we will look forward to jumping in with you.
Yeah, later we'll have Bhakti Peter joining us to cover our latest platform and AI security enhancements in Yokohama, as well as cover our upcoming roadmap. Today, we're going to cover how the ServiceNow AI platform can help healthcare organizations strengthen their security, help ensure your compliance, and streamline privacy controls with our out-of-the-box or configurable security features and our advanced or enhanceable security features, and cover best practices for protecting your sensitive healthcare data overall. We'll also explore the latest ServiceNow Yokohama release updates, including our roadmap. So I think everyone here knows what slide comes next. This presentation may contain forward-looking statements, those that reflect the current beliefs of ServiceNow and are based on current information available. These forward-looking statements should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. Now, what I can also add here is that Will and I will be talking about current platform capabilities. Bhakti will also be talking about current platform capabilities that came out with Y. But anything that we do get into, particularly in the Q&A, we will highlight it if it is a roadmap item for you. So some of you have been with ServiceNow for a long time, and as the platform grew, we've moved more of your organization's unique and critical business data onto the platform. We have a single platform that helps our customers assess and audit the risk with IRM and TPRM, You can document business continuity plans with BCM. You can secure the information with Vault, manage security incidents and vulnerability with SecOps, manage your assets, know where they are, where they're connected with ITOM and ITAM, and many more core platform features that we offer. When you bring more sensitive workflows to the cloud, though, the true foundation of all that is trust. So the vision and what we're going to cover here today with platform security defines all of our products. All the free and the paid security products feed into this, and we're building security products and features to meet those new customer needs with the platform. So when it comes to healthcare, organizations of all types are dealing with disparate challenges across all environments. These inefficiencies lead to team burnouts, inefficient audit responses, and ultimately lower patient safety. So while this was not the reason that this training was originally pulled together, it's actually ended up being perfect timing. We are also aware of the proposed changes to the HIPAA security rule that's been in place since the mid-90s. It's being updated to include some new security measures to help address the growing threats in the world and bolster cybersecurity for patient and employee data. The rule is in a proposed state as of today. The final register is due out in October, November, but it could be as late as January. But it explicitly calls out in the comment period protections for any system that may have PHI or IIHI, which would include employee data. So this is ever more relevant for EMR Help or HCLS customers, but it will also apply to any of our customers that even have a potential to have identifying information. So this is the reason why healthcare cybersecurity has to be updated. We need to do more, and we need it to apply to all the same policies and regulations without any open interpretation. And sorry, over to you, Will.
Awesome. So, we're going to talk a lot today about the fact that ServiceNow really drives intelligent automation and orchestration across your workflow and your business. The key piece here that we're going to focus on is while you're looking to embed ServiceNow within your organization, since we are really focusing on solutions to help with the problems Bryce brought up, we really want to make sure that we are getting the confidence of the platform, that we're building out the trust, that we're ensuring that the proper controls are in place across the platform to help you be able to be confident in your decisions to utilize these solutions to help drive your business. Bryce, want to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
So along that line, what we're really going to focus in on today, and I think you've heard Bryce mention these terms a little bit, but pay close attention to the top terms here. We're going to focus on three key items. We're going to focus on the concept of invisibles, configurables, and enhanceables. And the reason we're using that methodology is to kind of simplify it and help you understand where's my responsibility, what things do I need to do on the instance, and what things are available to me kind of across the tool set. And so what we've done is, if you look at the dotted line on this slide, it indicates kind of what we provide customers out of the box. So whether you're just an IT user of ServiceNow, whether you're using all the healthcare customized apps, whatever your usage of ServiceNow looks like, that dotted line box includes the concept of invisibles, right, which is things that ServiceNow are responsible for. So ServiceNow has a very broad, robust security practice, and there's a lot of elements of aspects as a service provider that we perform on the platform, on the infrastructure around the platform to secure your instances, right? The configurable side of that is when we look at the shared responsibility model and we really try to understand that you, the customer, as the data controller, have responsibilities as well. That starts to break down into the elements of how do I secure my app? What things do I need to configure around authentication, access to data, data protection, various types of security related controls that are available to you out of the box on the platform. Then from there, right, we start to touch on the idea of this concept of enhanceables, right? Enhanceables being the concept where we've put additional research and development and effort into building out products that are very specialized to help meet additional types of security compliance requirements. So with that said, right, I want you to pay attention to those colors at the top. We're going to indicate as we talk through common use cases we see with customers, whether those are items that are configurables and those are things you have access to today, or they might require an additional entitlement on your instance when we look at the enhanceables. With that said, Bryce is going to give us a little bit of a foray into what is the enhanceables.
And like Will mentioned, you can track here in the upper right corner as we go through these slides. ServiceNow Vault is the collection of those enhanceables. You will also see on the configurable slides in that green a configurable in the upper right. But our enhanceables are for organizations that need the tools and the abilities to demonstrate that they're following the processes needed to comply with their regulatory obligations at every stage of the data lifecycle. So from ingestion to storage to usage and finally to destruction, Vault consists of several key capabilities. It begins with our data privacy solution that is made up of our data discovery and data anonymization components. So it helps you simplify the process of finding, classifying, and anonymizing private information on the platform. It regularly searches your environment for data that can be linked back to an identity, and it permanently removes the values from the database in either production or your sub-production environments. Data encryption is where most of our customers approach us. That is broken down into our platform encryption SKU with field encryption and cloud encryption. This allows you to prove that you're following industry best practices for encrypting sensitive data and rotating your keys. That additional layer of protection helps guard against insider threats, unauthorized access, and data leakage from Gen AI without obstructing your ServiceNow workflows. So, for example, HCLS customers can show that they've encrypted everything in their instance, that they're rotating their keys on a regular basis, and demonstrate how they're keeping some of that data protected from even their own admins who may not need access to that data. Zero trust access enforces least privilege access controls and continuous trust verifications based on the unique features of the user's login session, rather than blanket rules that deny access across the platform. Log export service helps you gather real-time forensic quality logging, events that happen in your ServiceNow instance, and you can also use it for performance monitoring, trending analysis, detecting security incidents, and performing incident response tasks. And finally, code signing gives you greater assurance that the code running on your mid server has not been tampered with. So all that together is our security North Star. We want to make it easy for you to expose the right data for the right reasons to the right people every time. And at the end of the day, have it auditable. So the webinar today, we're breaking this down into three kind of key groups. First, we'll review how to know your data and what sensitive data you have on the platform. Once you have that identified, how to protect that data. And then once it's protected, how you can restrict access to that data. So ultimately, you can activate your data. So this will be the format that we'll be going through. I'll kick it off with a scenario that we've been hearing from our customers. Our first one over to Will is sensitive protected health information, which we'll be referring to as PHI going forward, is automatically redacted from inbound emails coming into your customer instance. This is something that we hear is crucial for maintaining privacy and compliance.
Yeah, thanks, Bryce. So yeah, as Bryce said, we're going to walk through these use cases. Really important to note. And I've seen some questions around, kind of why are things not included? So we're going to be really clear, right? Some of these aspects of what we're talking about today are absolutely included in the core platform. They're there for every customer to leverage, right? And we're also going to talk about things that are additional capabilities that don't fall into play for, a lot of standard usage of the platform. It comes into play more when customers start using it for sensitive workflows. Or more highly regulated type industries. So, this first use case is a great one, Bryce. I'm glad you brought this up, right? Because at the end of the day, this is an out-of-the-box use case. So pay attention to the configurable at the top. We're going to try to give you kind of the extension of these as they build and different capabilities that you can do. This configurable use case is available for all customers to use on the platform. And essentially what it does is available as of our Xanadu release, which by the way was last fall. So most of you should be on that release for sure. But this allows you to redact sensitive data from inbound emails coming in. So what we've done is we've developed this data privacy framework, right? And so from an advanced level, the ability to classify data, the ability to drive those rules and redact that data or anonymize that data where needed. In this case, because emails are kind of an uncontrolled channel, right? Customers use them a lot to create tickets, take data in and ingest it into the platform. And that's not something necessarily that from a platform perspective, it's directly controlled. So what we do, right, is we give you this capability out of the box so you can apply these protections to any of your email processing that runs. And so this allows you to configure the same sensitive data patterns and capabilities essentially overall that we have in most of our premium products for data privacy and really apply those to that inbound email data protection.
Thanks, Will. So moving forward from that to an enhanceable version, um, you can picture wanting to redact PHI data in real time. So as it's being placed into the work notes area of your cases, you can have real-time redaction, and the need is to help prevent any sensitive information from being exposed on the platform. How would you handle that, Will?
Yeah, so this use case is, so as we look at this, right, this is kind of a build use case, right? So this comes into the enhanceables. This is more of our premium data privacy. And the primary reason here is because of the amount of sensitivity of this processing, the amount of overhead that goes into, we put a lot of effort into really being able to build out these tools, right? And so what this does is allows you to take those data patterns, those capabilities that you can leverage for some of the out-of-the-box functionality I talked about with the inbound emails or the email processing. And this allows you to add that more to, hey, if I'm just not sure, right, I'm worried about users entering data they shouldn't enter in places within tickets or, case management, those types of various areas in the platform. This allows me to create these real-time rules that can apply to the platform itself, or even, historically, right, we can run data jobs, which we'll talk about in a bit, to redact that data so that that data is not being stored within, say, the work notes field of a ticket, right? If somebody's just putting that data there, we always prescribe and recommend to our customers, if you are using sensitive data or you need to bring sensitive data through a workflow because it needs to be there for business critical purposes, give them a designated place, right? It's much easier to secure data that's stored in designated repositories that you can put different security layers around versus allowing customers or your internal customers, external customers to put that data right within the form or field ticket. So that's what this capability is really focused on.
Moving on, I need help organizing and managing sensitive information effectively on my instance. So how can I classify PHI data within it?
Yeah, so today, again, out of the box, there's a capability called data classification, which allows customers to be able to go out and define all of the areas of the platform that they might be using sensitive data, right? So out of the box, it's something that you define, you configure, you have the ability to report on this data, and essentially gives you that visibility into where my data is sitting on the platform today. Again, keep in mind, and I probably should have iterated at the beginning of these slides, I built these slides with the intent that you'll get a leave behind. There will be an output of this deck for you. So you can use these slides. I actually tried to make it real simple for you to walk through the use case yourself and know how to use this capability on platform, especially when it comes to the configurable items here. To be able to understand them more. But yes, this is included for everybody out of the box for you to get that visibility into where is my data, and then what users are accessing classified data and some of the visibility.
And this is great, Will, but I definitely want to do less manual work if possible. So I'm interested in how can I automate the process of discovering that sensitive PHI on my instance?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Bryce, right? So what we've done is we've worked to develop an application that can allow us to go in and discover this sensitive data across these uniquely formatted field types within ServiceNow. And so using the data discovery capability, which would come along with the enhanceable of our data privacy product, this would allow you to actually get a little bit more robust and set up scheduled scans and start to look at historical data, or again, even being able to give you that visibility we talked about earlier, like real time as data is being entered, right? And so this is the beauty of this product is that it will allow you to then feed those classifications much more dynamically. So if data is getting introduced into the platform in areas where you weren't sure or you didn't think it should be there, or just giving your the administrators that are managing your platform visibility if that's happening, so they can correct that behavior, drive better behavior. Essentially, this is the tool to automate that discovery, automate the findings, and then drive towards that automated remediation as well as part of data privacy.
So at this point, I've discovered the sensitive data that I have on the platform. I've classified it. Now I want to ensure that it doesn't end up in environments where it shouldn't be. So how can I exclude sensitive table data from production when I'm cloning to development?
Yeah, good question, Bryce. So I wanted to kind of give the capabilities that are kind of out of the box here for this, right? So customers that have been using the platform for a long time typically are using things, we call them clone profiles, right? Clone profiles are there to kind of help you basically be able to say, hey, I want to be able to clone this production environment down. Clone in ServiceNow world is right, creating a replica or a copy, and typically a non-prod or a lesser prod QA, could be something to that effect, development, that you're going to use. You might have developers that are accessing and working on applications. And so in this case, right, this is the tried and true way. It's been used for a long time in ServiceNow for you to exclude data, for you to run any kind of custom scripts if there's certain types of things that you don't want to come across in that clone profile. So this, again, is a configurable available to all customers out of the box to help meet that need.
Fantastic. And once again, um, I would love to be able to do this automatically and again, ensure it doesn't go into my subprod instances.
Yeah, and so this is really, again, just kind of building on making sure that you understand kind of, again, how do I get a baseline? Where can I go if I need more, right? So if I need more granularity and I need to be very specific. So let's say, use cases, I'm not okay just excluding the data from a table. I maybe need some subset of data in order for my developers to be able to test or for my QA environment to operate, but I want to ensure that it's not that production data, but it's similar to the production data. So this is with our data privacy product, and essentially we allow you to anonymize that data, and you get a lot of different unique techniques that you can use with this product. That's part of the power of the product itself, is that you can define the different techniques that you use so that you can do selective replace, you can do character delimitation replacing, right? So you can keep format preserve data patterns in place when you get down to a subprod that allows you to test, but make sure that data has been properly sanitized. This product is also built to be able to do a full NIST capability overwrite, so that it's actually reducing and removing that data. It's not actually leaving that data or residual and just deleting it. So that's kind of the power of this product, right? Is allows you to meet, those use cases that are much more granular, where you just want to target that data and you just want to take specific action on those different data types on that clone down. So now I have a subprod instance which has data. That data has just been very much sanitized specifically, but we're still allowing data to be in there for development use cases, QA use cases.
Mhm. Yeah, I always geek out on our anonymization capabilities a little bit, where it still looks and feels like production data for testing and how customizable it is. So Will Brannon becomes Bruce Banner, for example.
Ooh, that's a pretty cool upgrade. I'll take that.
So one of my favorite configurables, and just imagine Will as a customer, a tool to help us understand our instance security configuration posture. So I need best practice recommendations on how to harden my instance overall.
Yeah, and I wanted to call this one out. I added this in here because I think it's just a super important shout out for all customers. I still run into customers today that don't realize that we've created this product. We actually have this free embedded product on platform. So speaking of free, this is a huge value add that we've added to the platform. We put a ton of research and development, continue to improve this product constantly, and do not charge customers for it. Security Center is comprised of a whole host of different capabilities, including the ability to run scans across your instance to detect custom configurations or unique scenarios that might be specific to your control requirements, and essentially can help you manage that hygiene, on top of the fact that ServiceNow has prescriptive recommendations for when we give you a platform, right, that's very configurable. You still have to identify where does it fit your organization for those configurations. And so this tool is built to help you understand the risk of nature of the different configurations that we need you, the customer, to help look at, manage, and control. right? But it also gives you all the detail around what is the risk, right? What is this related to, right? And so this hardening capability is very powerful. On top of that, there's a whole host of metrics that we provide, hundreds of out of the box metrics right within this tool to give you visibility into how the application is being used from a security perspective, right? To help you manage, potential over provisioning or access where, there's an API configured and we didn't realize this API was being used, and we need to make sure we add API access policies, and we need to do other types of security controls based on the visibility of what we can see happening on your platform. So this is, again, a tool built for you, the customer, to use. Again, we still have a lot of customers that aren't using this. This is something that's, again, a huge, huge shout out. If there's a huge takeaway from today, besides all these configurables that I'm going through, please make sure you get this up. This is installed on your application. It's there, it's running. Please get yourself familiar with utilizing this application and getting the great benefit from Security Center.
Please. So from here, we have a good understanding of what sensitive information we now have on the platform with our instance. And we need to protect that from unauthorized access. So my company needs the ability to encrypt sensitive data that's stored within a field that I've identified contains it in my instance.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to be real clear. This is a kind of a little bit of a confusion spot sometime with customers, but ServiceNow made a choice that we will deliver customers with a very highly capable, security-oriented encryption product out of the box, right? So what we give customers is actually the field encryption product. Depending on which version of the platform you're on, there was some slight changes to it in Yokohama, which is the most recent release here from March. So happy to revisit with you. Reach out to your account team if you have questions or want to drill in deeper into that. My team can happily help out with that. But the bottom line here is this is an application-based data at rest encryption product. So it wraps the data at the actual application layer, stores the data encrypted in the database, right? And so the benefit of this product is it truly takes a security access control format, and when it encrypts that data, right, it's storing it within that database fully encrypted, and it's never decrypting it from the database layer. So that's the huge benefit here. Now, the downside of it, or the challenge that some customers see, is that this does have to be configured, right? And this is what's provided out of the box. This is what all customers get by default. It's what's specified in your contract, and it does need to be set up, right? So you need to be able to configure which fields you want to encrypt, right? And of course, there's going to be some levels of limitations around certain field types that doesn't support. But all of that's clearly documented. But again, this is going to provide a more robust access control level of encryption across different layers of data on the application itself.
But what if I need more control, Will? So I need to protect that PHI data that's stored within a field, but I need to manage and provide my own keys for it.
Yeah, so and this is where, again, like looking at kind of capabilities. Typically, we're going to give customers a lot of capabilities out of the box to meet their security requirements. But if you have additional security capabilities, ServiceNow is very transparent. A lot of providers, a lot of cloud solutions, they find creative ways to package and bundle and hide pricing. Like ServiceNow is just very transparent when it comes to how we provide services to our customers. So doing advanced field encryption. So what this is this is essentially the same exact product I just talked about on the last slide. Gives you that full capability to do application layer encryption. Now adding the capability to layer in your own custom BYOK, right? So if a customer wants to use their own keys and actually has the data encryption key, as well as giving you some additional access to more encryption policies that you can do than kind of the limitations of the out of the box. So this is the full enterprise version of that product. It gives you just a little more flexibility, again, for your customer side controls that you might need to meet.
But what if I need even more, Will? I
So
need comprehensive data security here. So all the data stored at rest on my instance, I need to encrypt with the ability to revoke my keys that I've provided you.
yeah, so this is a good question, Bryce. And there's always kind of this general question. So, ServiceNow by default doesn't encrypt the entire database at rest. We're not a shared database platform. So a lot of our competitive products out there are running on shared databases. They're using technology that they couldn't, right? They couldn't disseminate. If I say I'm going to do database encryption, I have to encrypt everybody, right? So that's a value add, but they charge a premium for that some way, shape, or form. ServiceNow is a logical single tenant architecture. So architecture is very important here because our architectural model distinctly defines us. Also, our private cloud infrastructure also very distinctly defines ServiceNow as well. We own and manage all the assets within our data center. We don't outsource that function, right? So while we use colos to provide that services, we still do provide that true private cloud. Now, again, with encryption, what we do is we encrypt each customer because every instance that every customer has is a unique database. It's a unique tenant architecture, right? And so what that means is that not all customers have this requirement. Believe it or not all customers have to have the data encrypted at rest. They might use us for ticket management. They might be in an industry that's not regulated or not highly regulated, or that's not a requirement that's priority for them. So rather than just embedding this and surcharging it, right, we basically have said, other than our regulated environments in our standard commercial cloud, we give this option to customers. But if you need this, we sell it as one product that gives you both the premium entitlement we talked about before, but also the entitlement to cloud encryption, which will get you the full data at rest. It will create that secure volume space dedicated to you with a unique key set that's off your instance. So each instance has different keys, and then allow you to have the ability, if you choose, you have to opt into this because there is an addendum, because if you were to withdraw your keys, right, it does take down the instance, there is impact to our SLA. So that's the reason this is kind of that withdraw piece is just a separate line item. But that is something really important to understand about our cloud encryption, is we give you the ability, if you choose to opt in to purchasing the capability to encrypt that data at rest as the entire volume. Then you also have the field encryption enterprise, which would allow you to do those granular policies at the data level, and all of that to meet your various requirements that you might have as a customer. In healthcare, again, we see very commonly a lot of our healthcare customers are looking at this solution due to different requirements that come across. If they're using the platform for processing sensitive PHI, typically this is a great idea and advised for a lot of our healthcare customers.
So I really like this next one because it not only bridges the gap between configurables and enhanceables, but it also bridges the gap between protecting your data and what's coming up next, restricting access to your data. So will I just need help monitoring and analyzing logs for security purposes?
Yeah, this is a great one. I love to make sure this one's on here. I agree with Bryce on the bridge here. We're actually pretty generous with customers right now. If you go out and enable this capability, it's called Log Export Service, available on the store, available to everybody, right? Now, the capability doesn't change, right, between the paid and the free. The only thing that the paid entitlement gives you is additional storage capability. So storage is a physical thing, right? It costs us physical overhead. So at the end of the day, we give every customer out of the box with log export services today, right, 500 gigabytes of throughput. So if you go out there, you enable that capability today, you can leverage this. There's throughput capability available for typically you can get quite a bit of data in that. This will allow you to use if you're familiar with kind of the data messaging bus frameworks of today, this utilizes the Hermes messaging bus capability that runs with Apache Kafka. And so this is essentially going to allow you to push the data from your instance to a unique dedicated stream, private stream for your instance, and then allow your internal security tools like your SIM log management, other tools to be able to just connect to ServiceNow and in near real time grab that data and actually subscribe through that Kafka consumer. So this is a benefit because, again, it not only provides you all access to the different data, the log types within ServiceNow, but again, it also alleviates a lot of overhead from your instance because this is a very smooth streaming service and it streams that data in your real time.
So like we covered before, we now know our data. We've protected our data on the platform, and now we want to ensure that only authorized personnel can access that sensitive data on the platform. So will I need to block access to contractors that are not connecting through my trusted VPN?
Yeah, so and I wanted to give this one because, again, we're not gonna, I could probably do an hour, 2 hours of presentation on this adaptive authentication framework. It's an amazing, powerful tool provided out of the box. Every customer is entitled to adaptive authentication. Think of it as essentially your policy engine for identity and authorization, for similar to, like, if you're familiar with other tools, Azure conditional policy access, or you've got Okta's got embedded tools, the various identity provider tools have their embedded capabilities. ServiceNow has adaptive authentication, and really what it does is it takes How do I take that additional risk posture layer, those additional risk attributes about a session, who's connecting, where they're connecting from, right? And then apply different types of security across that session, right? So out of the box, we give you a powerful capability that covers APIs, covers things like mobile users, covers that standard user use case, right? Any authentication into the platform can have policy rules set around, for example, like the contractor use case here, right? I can have a group that defines contractors that are using my system, and I can restrict them so that they can only access maybe via my corporate trusted network. Because with my contractors, I can't control their assets potentially. I'm going to force them through a VPN profile that I've set up in my company to secure that, make sure their assets are secure. So my VPN devices are going to look at their assets, make those decisions, say, yep, we trust them. Now we're going to let them in. They're always going to be coming from a certain subset of IPs. So when that contractor tries to log in, if they were off on their own corporate network trying to do whatever it is they want to do, they can't get to your instance because it will block that role's access because they're not on that trusted VPN you created. So this really allows you the granular control as a customer to look at the risk conditions of why, where, and what somebody's coming in as, and be able to get granular with that policy.
So finally, a very granular policy. Well, I'd like an extra layer of security for that sensitive information on the platform. How can I ensure access to PHI is granted only to entitled users when they're on my trusted network?
Yeah, so now this is a capability that we've added, and we've added this as an enhanceable because this took quite a bit of kind of essentially additional depth for us to create this capability. So a couple things we've done is if you look at this slide, it's very similar to the adaptive authentication framework. So the good news is it's the same tool set you're used to managing for the policies you have. What we've done is I've highlighted there on the top right and the bottom right is we've identified a couple of key capabilities that can extend the capabilities of that. One at the top is what about that session? So tell me about the inputs, right? So one thing we've done is we've created a capability that allows you to connect to your identity provider today and synchronize certain attributes down. So it could be things like the risk score from Azure's conditional policy, because maybe you're looking at that endpoint and doing a bunch of analysis. And when you create your risk score, you have a threshold, right? We can synchronize that score down and we can set that same threshold in ServiceNow to allow or deny access. The good news is no matter where they're coming from, right, if they're using that identity provider, we're getting that same risk condition down. Other attributes, right? You might be looking at an endpoint, looking for a client certificate or looking for other attributes that might exist. This gives you the capability to synchronize those attributes to that input condition, right, to use across the ServiceNow decision-making matrix. The other thing is geolocation. So we've built a full-on capability to add geolocation that uses a full-on geolocation service that can identify accurately where somebody's coming into the platform. So if you have specific restrictions like do not allow access outside of the US or other types of scenarios like that, or maybe specific groups like that contractor scenario, I don't want to allow anybody accessing from outside of the US. I can set those specific conditions. The other really important one we've added with what's called zero trust access to this framework is the ability to, with the basic out of the box, we can allow, we can deny, and we can require a step up authentication, right? So that's core, that's what's included out of the box. With this capability, we can allow this conditional access, right? Or reduced access. So you might have a scenario, a very common one. So we have a few ServiceNow now on now stories for this too that we've enabled. Like we don't allow our admins internally, right, for admins of our platforms to access ServiceNow without being on the trusted network, right? So what we've done is very simple policies. They seem simple, but the reality is we might still have a use case where an admin needs to do something that's not an admin function, right? But they need to access the platform in an urgent situation off the network. So we can use conditional policies to say, hey, we're going to reduce their access and not allow them to have that full admin capabilities, but give them a subset role if they're not in this trusted area or this trusted condition. But then once they meet that trusted condition, we give them their permissions back. Another thing that's really valuable with the conditional access that was added in the Yokohama that I'm sure Bhakti is going to go over is the ability to get very granular data specific. So if we talked about data classification, you can do that out of the box, but you can also have that automated data classification where you're going out identifying sensitive data. when you start enumerating that there's sensitive data in certain areas of the platform, we can also set up conditional policies that say, hey, if this user's coming in and they're, they're accessing this data class, right? Then we want to prompt for authentication, and it will require this specific role to get that data access. So we can re-authenticate, so we can do that conditional zero time, or essentially zero trust type policy, forcing re-authentication, but also then reasserting that there's only specific roles that would entitle that. So if they re-authenticate and don't have that role, we wouldn't give them access to that data. But we're also not going to block them from their day job overall, right? We're going to let them use the system. We're just not going to let them access that sensitive data due to existing risk conditions that are causing that meet your policy, right, to block their access. So this is a very powerful capability. Our customers are very excited for this. We're excited for this capability, but it does come as part of that zero trust access, kind of either within that vault or, as a standalone option.
Mm-hmm. So to tie it all together, we just want to cover that ServiceNow provides the tools for data governance for every organization. Dependent on your maturity, you may or may not need our enhanceables, but the configurables are there built into the platform today. And as I'm sure Will may cover a little bit later, we just picked out a few slides from a broad overview that he gives as a webinar just on the configurables as well. But for Vault in particular and healthcare organizations, and what we covered here today, it's intended to help you gain visibility into the data that's stored and used on the ServiceNow platform in accordance with your data classification policies. We want you to have the confidence that the data you're putting into the platform can adhere to your data protection requirements, meet your compliance requirements by encrypting that data that you're storing in the cloud, and ensure that access controls are provided on a need-to-know and just-in-time basis to ensure that access to data is not oversubscribed, including for your administrators. And with that, I'm very excited to hand this over to Bhakti, who's joined us today.
All right. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Will. You have heard from Bryce and Will that how we are looking at the use cases, particularly in your industries and your domains, and how we are making sure that the data that you are bringing into the secure ServiceNow AI platform is secured, and you have the control to apply more controls and go in defense in depth for the security of your data. What I'm going to go over real quick is what we have released very recently for all of you to enhance that security further. This is the Yokohama release update. Just a fun fact, ServiceNow release names are the city names. So Yokohama is the city name if you are wondering what Yokohama is. So with that, if we can go to the next slide. As you could see, we are very much invested here in ServiceNow into the security and protecting the sensitive data that comes into the ServiceNow platform and gets used by our workflows to run the businesses for our customers. That's the priority for us. And it is reflected in the features that we have released here. Real quick, if we have to go through them, it's a big list. First and foremost, we do care about the privacy of the data, especially for the healthcare industries. We do understand that you could have your patient's data, PHI, you would need to comply with the regulations. What we have done is, as the data is growing, we do understand that we need to embrace new technologies like AI to make sure that we discover all of that sensitive data and help you protect that data on ServiceNow platform. Next to that is the encryption protection. So we have gone to the granular level of encryption in addition to the cloud encryption that Will has covered, which includes the field level encryption enterprise. What it does is, in addition to the entire encryption at the volume level by cloud encryption, we then allow customers to pick and choose the columns which are very critical for them. Specifically, let's say you have an SSN of a patient, or if you have a credit card information of the patient available in your database, which is hosted on ServiceNow platform, you can further go and encrypt that data at that granular level, the column level or the field level encryptions. That's the functionality that we have opened up. But you might wonder that how would I know if my workflow is going to break if I encrypt the data or if I encrypt that particular field. And that's when we have introduced product called Access Observer. In a nutshell, what it does for you is to, it will, if you enable the product, it will monitor the fields that you have enabled the product for, and it will tell you that who is accessing that column or that field and how often, so that you will have a informed decision-making process when you are enabling the field level encryption. And I will go in depth in the next few slides about it. The next one we have is the authentication. Very, very, very critical, because this is your first level of defense. As Bill has mentioned, that authentication enhancements that we have are pertaining to the zero trust access. As you could all be aware, zero trust include various different things. The focus that we have in authentication area for ServiceNow is two things. One is least privilege access. That is the conditional access that Will has explained. And we have enhanced that further to the continuous authentication. What it means is once after the user has logged in, and when they are trying to access, say, PHI information on ServiceNow platform, you might want them to re-authenticate themselves or perform a step-up authentication to make sure that the right users have access to the right data. So that's the functionality that we have added in Yokohama. Multi-factor authentication, table stakes. I will go over that in very much detail, because this is the topic I really, really want all of our customers to embrace. It's very critical, especially given the AI and other enhancements that we have in technological space. Next, we have is authorization. How do you control the access of users on ServiceNow platforms? We have enhanced our portfolio for access controls, adding in the security data filters, providing you to have the fine-grained control when you have the nested logic of going from one table to another table and querying the data across multiple tables. And then one of the most loved products that we have among our customers is Access Analyzer. We have started Access Analyzer as a tool for admins, but we quickly realized that our customers wanted this tool to be available for non-admins as well, and we opened up that tool for non-admins, and I'll quickly go through that over in my next slides. Log export service, very critical. Everything that is happening on the ServiceNow platform getting tracked into the logs. You have wealth of data in the logs. We want to make sure that you are able to read that data properly. You know how much consumption of your log is on currently on the ServiceNow platform. And we are also have added multiple supports in terms of the sources from where the data and the logs can be collected. Domain separation is another product that we offer to our customers, specifically to those who want to separate their data and process on the single platform. As you might know, ServiceNow is a single instance, single database platform, but we have the use cases with some of our customers where they want to create the multi-tenancy on the single instance. And to do that, the product that you might want to explore is domain separation. What we added in there is the post-production installer, meaning to say that, hey, you have the instance today, you started with the instance, tomorrow you have a requirement where you need to separate the data and the processes on the single instance. How would you do that? And that's when you can use the post-production installer, which then will help you segregate your data and process based on your new business requirement that had happened after the instance implementation. Last but not the least, Security Center. If you are not using it, I highly encourage you to use Security Center. It gives you it has eyes on everything that is happening related to security on the ServiceNow platform, and it's like your buddy. It tells you what's happening in this, what's going right, what's going wrong in the instance for you when it comes to the security, and also will help you with the best practices. So we have improved a lot in Security Center as well. Given we have limited time here, I wanted to make sure that I choose top 4. So the very first one, as I was mentioning, the table stakes, multi-factor authentication. We highly recommend you all to take this very seriously and make sure that you are not letting your customers using users using their password, just the passwords, to log into the ServiceNow platform. From Yokohama onwards, we are making it even more difficult for you to use the password. And that's for your goodness, right? So what we want is from Yokohama onwards, we have enabled the multi-factor authentication for all internal users. Now, the exceptions here are if you have single sign-on enabled, or if it is the integration account, you don't need to have an MFA because you do have a security in place when somebody is logging in through the single sign-on. But if you have the users who are just logging into the ServiceNow platform using their password, they would require to enable the MFA. We have various different methods that you can enable MFA. For example, you can have your users using authentication app. They can have the email-based authentication verification, or you can also enable biometrics. But it is going to be a must-have requirements for the users who are using just password to get into the ServiceNow platform. There will be 30 days trial period where you have to enroll yourself for MFA. Of course, we do understand that some customers might want to extend that 30 days to some few, and provide some grace period. You can do that. We encourage you to not do it. Earlier is better, but if you have to, as an admin, you can extend that period. But as I said, please make sure that you enable the MFA going forward, Yokohama upgrade. If we go to the next enhancement, then after authentication, once user logs in, the next thing that you might want to worry about, how do I secure the access that user has on ServiceNow platform so they are not accessing more than what they should. So we have introduced security data filters access control feature. What it does for you is you might be using the business rules today to achieve the security. We do not want you to do that because that's not secure. What we have done is we are going to give you security data filters, which will be applied even before the query goes into the database. Now, you might wonder what's the benefit. The benefit is when the user is requesting a data, they will get the data back from the database, only the data set that they are allowed to have access to. So even the written data from the database is a small subset of the data and not the entire data itself. So as you could see, we have implemented more in-depth security or nested security, if I may say so, in the security data filters feature. Related records is also an extension when you are accessing a database, and if you have the child table and parent table relationship, we wanted to make sure that the access extraction or the data extraction based on access is inherited from the parents to child and vice versa. Next, we have is Access Analyzer. As I have mentioned, this is one of the loved tools by our customers for right reasons. We are opening up it beyond admins. So if you have another group who is responsible for managing the accesses within your organization other than admins themselves, you can provide them the ability to solve the access issues or troubleshoot them using the Access Analyzer, starting Yokohama. If we go to the next one, that's when we have the data privacy enhancement. As I was mentioning, we care deeply about the sensitive data that our customers bring on ServiceNow AI platform. We do understand that the data is the driver for the workflow. Especially the sensitive data is where the logic of the business sits. And we are equipped on ServiceNow platform through ServiceNow Vault product offering to make sure that all the data that you are bringing in to the platform, in your case, it's a PHI, for example, is protected. Now, what we have done for Yokohama is instead of just relying only on the regex patterns, we have introduced the AI-based capability to discover the PII in real time. For example, names do not have any standard format, right? How do you recognize the names? That's when we have used the newer technologies like NER models to make sure that we are in a position to discover the sensitive data wherever it sits on ServiceNow platform, be the tables or be the real time. We also have improved our scheduled jobs that can now scan the attachments, the PDFs, and the text files. We also have expanded discovery and anonymization capabilities into the journal fields. This is the top ask from many of our customers, because what they have realized is by mistake or accidental leak of sensitive data into the journal fields. And that's when we have now introduced that we are able to discover the sensitive data in the journal fields, and we will be able to provide a control, for example, anonymization control to our customers to apply the anonymization of the data, so the sensitive data is not even getting stored into the ServiceNow platform by accident. I highly encourage you to take a look at these features, especially because of the industry that you operate in and the regulations that you have to comply with. So that's number 3. And the number 4 that we have is the encryption. The field level encryption. Field level encryption is it's a very innovative, but at the same time, very interesting feature that we have on ServiceNow platform. It's mostly because many of the customers assume that once we have the the volume level encryption or the cloud encryption, we might be all set. But given the industry that you are operating in, the healthcare, where you have to worry about the patient data, you have to worry about the private data of your clients. Encryption is the control that will give you defense in depth. As I have explained at the beginning of the Yokohama release list, field level encryption gives you an ability to apply the fine-grained encryption on the columns of your choice. And that gives you the power to decide that how you want to give access to who and for what reason. To enable the field level encryption, the pre-step for you could be, hey, let me first watch who is coming to this field and how they are using this field before I encrypt this field, because I do not want to break the workflow. And that's when we have introduced a product called Access Observer, which does exactly that for you. It sits there, it monitors who is accessing that field, and then it gives you the intel so that you can make the informed decisions to encrypt the specific fields which are of your choice. So those are our top 4 features that we have released in Yokohama. And last but not the least, the zero trust access, which is the enhancement on what we have done previously, which is the least privilege access. Now we have added continuous authentication feature to it. What does that really mean is, let's assume that somebody has logged into the ServiceNow platform after the successful authentication. Fantastic. After half an hour, they are trying to access the SSN and the medical records of the user, of other clients or the customers that you have from the table. Now, how do you make sure that the user who have logged in is the same user who is trying to access that access those medical records, and their session is not hijacked by any other attacker or the bad actor who is trying to steal the medical record information of your organization? This is when the continuous authentication feature comes into picture. What it does, it makes sure that before a user can access this sensitive data, in this case, let's assume the medical records, they have to re-verify their identity. How do they do that? They have to perform the step of authentication. Once they perform the step of authentication, and if it is successful, then we open a high assurance session, and the user is allowed to access the medical records only in high assurance sessions. So if there is no high assurance sessions, even after authentication, they will not be able to access the medical data. So as you could see, again, as I was mentioning, we have thought about defense in depth. So you have various different controls to make sure that the bad attackers are not accessing your data, and the right people are accessing the right kind of data for right time for right reasons. So that's more about the continuous authentication update that we have on Zero Trust product that we have already out there. You can have, for example, data privacy, zero trust, encryption are available with ServiceNow Vault bundle, but they are also available as a standalone SKU. It's your choice. The bundle gives you, as I said, the defense in depth, versus the standalone SKU gives you an ability to apply the controls specific to the use cases that you might have. So I believe those are our top 4 or top 5. I think I assume 4, but I think it's 5 more is better. And with that, I think what I would like to do is to give you a sneak peek into what might be coming up next. So if we can go to the next slide. This is when this is where I would like to kind of recap and also give you the peek into the future. As I said, we are very serious and committed about security of the sensitive data that our customers are bringing into the ServiceNow platform. And you must have seen through our Yokohama release that our commitment continues to deliver the security controls, which are very critical for our customers based on the changing needs and the technologies that they have. So far what we have delivered, which is included in the platform, is the new access control, the security data filters, the deny unless ACLs, the query ACLs. We also have delivered best practices in security centers so that you know what is the right thing to do when it comes to compliance and security on ServiceNow platform. We have given you that. What we will be given you is machine identity console. As much as the users are critical for the security of your data, the machine identities like the integration accounts, like the admin accounts are as critical, or in some cases even more critical for the security of your data on ServiceNow platform. We are building a console for you, which is where in one single place, you will be able to see all your integration accounts, all your non-human accounts, and you can see that which APIs that they have access to, how often they have accessed it, and then you can make the decisions whether you really want these accounts to be there and what level of access you want to allow it to those. So that will be a fantastic addition to complete your story of user protection, not just for the human users, but for non-human users. And we also understand that our customers sometimes face issue with various access controls that we have given to our customers. So what we are going to do is to simplify that user experience for you, where you can go into the central location to understand the various access controls and then configure them based on your business use cases in a guided experience. So watch out for this. I'm very confident that these two features will help you be more efficient and more secure when it comes to ServiceNow AI platform.
Hey,
Also,
Bhakti, can I
yeah,
just ask a question? So there's been a few questions around kind of what's paid, what's free. On this slide, and I know we didn't do it on all the slides, but on this slide, is it safe to assume that top section where it's not labeled Vault is stuff that's out of the box, part of the
that is correct.
platform?
That is
Okay,
correct.
cool. So just wanted to add that clarity for all you. We do still absolutely invest, and we are doing a lot of work. Sometimes it is challenging to demystify. Don't be afraid to ever ask us. We're always happy to be transparent. Like, that's not the goal here, is to make it complicated. So just wanted to make sure you knew.
That's a fantastic point. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear, but anywhere you see ServiceNow Vault is our advanced security controls, which are available through the bundle or standalone SKUs. But we are equally or even more invested into making sure that the platform is secure by default. Right? ServiceNow Vault gives you defense in depth. The platform is secure by default, and that's where all the investment at the top, at least for this slide, is coming from. Any other question, Will, before I go to Vault?
Nope, I got a Q&A I'll take later once we get there, but no problem.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. All right. So when it comes to ServiceNow Vault, which is our advanced security controls that we offer to our customers on top of the secure platform, we have already delivered the AI-powered sensitive data discovery. As you could imagine, there is ton and ton and ton of data, and there is a variety of the pattern when it comes to sensitive data. We quickly realized that we need technology like AI, which helps us securely identify the sensitive data and then help our customers apply the controls. And that's what we have invested into, and you will see a lot from us in that space. We also have introduced, as I said, into the continuous authentication, because we have quickly realized that it's not enough to verify the user's identity when they're just logging into the platform. We also wanted to make sure that when they're accessing high value data on ServiceNow platform, let them re-verify themselves to make sure that the right people have right access, as I mentioned, for the right reason and for right time. So that's something we have already delivered. What you're going to see more from us is even better. If you remember the slide that Bryce has shared, you have 5 different products under the Vault bundle, right? Now you sometimes might get into the situation is, oh, which one should I start with? Which one is more critical for me, right? And you might not even think about implementation based on product. You might think about implementation based on the use cases. And that's what we have realized, and that's what we are delivering to you in Zurich, which is a unified UI where it will help you to know your data, as Will has explained, protect your data, as Will and Bryce has explained, and then also monitor and comply your sensitive data all in one place with the guided experience. So you do not have to worry about which product implementation. What you have to just do is just go to that console. It will guide you to discover the data, then help you protect that data, and you can regularly come to that console to monitor the control efficiency, and if there is any new risks or the new controls that you would need to apply because there is a new data into the platform. All of that will be automatically detected for you, and the guided experience will help you to quickly get to the security faster than you would imagine. So that's more like, we are very excited about that experience. Hopefully in Zurich webinar, when you come back to us again, I hope that you join that webinar as well. You will see that in real time and in action. And as I was mentioning to you, is we have realized that because there is a vast variety of data and the volume of the data is so huge, we wanted to take advantage of newer technologies that are available in the market. And that's when we are going to introduce the AI agent, which will sit by you, work for you based on what you want to do. Right? So we will be building these agents which can discover the sensitive data for you. We are building the agents which can classify data for you. We are building the agent which can help you with encryption configurations, for example, or giving you insight from the logs through the log export service. So there is a lot to come in that space. As I said, as a closing note, as I said, ServiceNow is very much committed to make sure that the data that you are bringing into ServiceNow AI platform is secure and sensitive so that you can make your business successful. And that's what this team and the extended team that we have at ServiceNow is at work every day, 24/7. Last but not the least, I do appreciate all of you coming to this webinar as well as providing us the feedback through various different channels. Please keep doing that because that's what helps us build the roadmap, what you see here, and the products deliver that matters to you. So with that, I will give it back to you, Will, for a Q&A.
Yeah, that sounds great. Did we have any other slides, Bryce, we wanted to cover before we jump into Q&A, or? Yeah, so this, yeah, I'll touch on this one. This is a great one, so please feel free to grab the QR code. I assure you it was done in a trusted source here. So this is ServiceNow's QR code. It'll just be a link to the blog where we post all of these webinars. Just to let you know, there's a combination of webinars. You're going to see them from teams like Bhakti's team and on the product side of the house. You're also going to see our team, the Office of the CISO. Again, we're not part of the product organization. We're part of the security organization. We've been doing a lot of webinars. The one to the far right, security solutions for real-time business challenges, that is focused on the question. There was, again, a lot of questions about what's out of the box. We are really trying to focus and help guide you all customers to understand, how do I maximize what's there? And then how do we get just clarity, right? When we need something different because our requirements dictate it, it's easy to understand, right? What can I do? Where do I need to go if I need more? And we try to simplify that for you. So just shout out to these webinars. They're very valuable. Some led by my team, some led by the product team. So lots of good content there. Awesome. So with that said, I want to jump in. I've got a couple of Q&A that it looks like really primarily one Q&A right now. So we can decide if we want to open up here, or if anybody else, please get your questions in the Q&A panel. If you want me to address them, I will do my best right now. The first one that I'm going to address is, can we talk about edge encryption users, right? And how the transition from edge encryption to platform encryption or Vault, and then including current encrypted data, et cetera, from edge encryption. So just quick education for those of you not familiar with edge encryption. Edge encryption's been around for ServiceNow for quite a while. It was one of the first introductions of encryption that we did. It was really focused for especially some extremely sensitive customers who required encrypting data and full control of the keys, essentially like complete control of the data. Meaning that whatever data they put in ServiceNow, it needed to be encrypted and protected so that the service provider, ServiceNow, didn't even have access to the data. The challenge is with that, right? So just being transparent with you, as we've seen over the years, is customers, while the promise of that product was phenomenal and it gave you all the security capabilities you wanted, it basically rendered the data garbage in, garbage out in ServiceNow. So at the end of the day, if you encrypt data outside of ServiceNow, you put encrypted data in ServiceNow and you want to process it, it's kind of a problem, right? So at the end of the day, like we've learned that as we improve our security controls, as we help partner with customers, we look at the big picture, right? All the things I talked about in the beginning, our architecture, our data model, our private cloud. How we do things as ServiceNow is not just your standard run-of-the-mill cloud service provider, right? So keeping in touch with all of those things and looking at the layers of controls, we can help our customers assert a better trust model with ServiceNow. And what we realized is that a lot of customers want to process data still, right? But they still want more granular data protection. And it comes down to the ability to maybe, if I take away keys, right? And now you don't have access to the data, but I had to take an action to do that, right? What would that look like? So I know Bhakti didn't get into it. I'm not going to because I am not on the product side, but Safe Harbor, there is products coming. Edge encryption is no longer for sale. So just to be clear, but we are working on enhancements to our column level, or field encryption product, enterprise product that will give you certain capabilities with different types of key management than what we have today, that will give you much more granularity around data controls. Again, I don't want to go too in depth. If that is of interest, so whoever posted that, please reach out to your account team, have them engage the office of the CISO. My team would love to get engaged with you, and we can bring our encryption product management team to discover your use case, understand it, make sure that we can align with you with what we're building. So for now, you can keep using Edge encryption. We're not taking that away at this point, so hang tight. We're working on it. That's my message. Bhakti, anything I missed there?
No, I think that's absolutely what it is. We wanted to make sure that we provide you more controls to field encryption when we are sunsetting the edge encryption. So there is a lot going on in that space. If you have any use cases that you want to pass it on to us, as Will said, reach out to your account team, and through Will's team, please, share those with us.
Yep, and there's a final question just on the edge encryption clarification. Does it require software? Yeah, so again, we're not selling it anymore. So if you're not using it today, we're not going to sell it to you. It's just, it just was not consumable. Most of our customers have gotten off of it. And so we'd love to talk to you about field encryption and make sure that we understand your requirements. And then again, yes, edge encryption did require a proxy gateway. It was very painful. There was a lot of challenges for customers. So at the end of the day, that's why that product is no longer available. So again, looks like that's all our Q&A. At this point, we will, so there was a question around, will we share? Absolutely. So as Sandrine said, we will be sharing a version of this deck. The QR code will be within the deck, so you certainly can use it. Again, there's a great blog on our ServiceNow blogs, or our ServiceNow community site. There's a great blog. Our wonderful platform security team manages, and there's lots of great use cases. There are elements in there where we talk about the why release enhancements. Some of the things that Bhakti went through are right there listed. You can interact with our product teams, our security professionals. Yeah, we encourage you to please be active. Please share your use cases. If there's concerns, challenges, things that you need us to help with, let us know. Like, we want to partner with you. We want to help. We're trying to drive in the right direction here for ServiceNow. So hopefully you see that. And there's some good things that you can get out of today's webinar and take back with you. Last shout out, please, 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 if you're not using Security Center today, jump into Security Center, start leveraging it. If you have questions, reach out to your account team. They can walk through it with you or engage our team as needed. Really appreciate everybody. That said, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.